The morning sun stretched softly across the rooftops of Willowhue, a quiet town tucked between rolling hills and whispering trees. In this peaceful place lived a 12-year-old boy named Ayaan, known for his quiet nature and gentle smile. He wasn't the most popular kid at school nor the most confident, but he carried something rare, an instinctive kindness, a heart that seemed to understand the feelings people hid behind their faces. Ayaan lived with his mother, who worked long hours at the town bakery, and his grandmother, who spent her days knitting colorful scarves to sell at the weekend market. Their home wasn't big, but it was always warm, always filled with the soft smell of fresh bread or the clicking sound of knitting needles. Every morning before school, Ayaan helped his mother stack fresh loaves into baskets and sweep the bakery floor. He didn't mind waking up early, he liked the quiet moments before the town came alive. His mother often looked at him with a tired but proud smile, brushing back his messy dark hair and saying, "You have a heart that chooses kindness, Ayaan. Never lose that." He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he tried to live it anyway. One chilly autumn morning, Ayaan was walking to school when he saw a girl sitting alone on a stone bench by the old fountain. Her head was lowered, and her long brown hair fell like a curtain over her face. He recognized her instantly, Elara, a new student who had joined their class just 2 weeks ago. She hardly spoke to anyone, always keeping to herself, and the other kids often whispered about her strange silence. Ayaan hesitated. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable, but something about the way she sat, shrinking into herself, made him stop. He approached gently. "Hi, are you okay?" Elara didn't look up right away. When she finally did, her eyes were red, as though she had cried for a long time. She quickly wiped her face. "I'm fine," she whispered. Ayaan could tell she wasn't. He sat on the edge of the bench, leaving space so she wouldn't feel crowded. "If you want someone to walk with. I mean, we're both going to school anyway." For a moment, she didn't move. Then she gave a tiny nod. They walked side by side, silent but no longer alone. When they reached school, Elara murmured, "Thank you," before slipping into her classroom. That would have been the end of it, but kindness has a way of rippling outward, like a pebble dropped into a still pond. Over the next few days, Ayaan noticed the way other students treated Elara, sometimes with indifference, sometimes with quiet cruelty. They didn't push her or shout at her, but they excluded her in ways that cut deeper. They never chose her for group work, never sat beside her during lunch, never tried to learn her story. Ayaan couldn't change everyone, but he could change something. During lunch one day, he walked over with his tray. "Can I sit here?" he asked. Elara looked mildly surprised, then nodded. At first, their conversations were short. Ayaan would talk about small things, his grandmother's brightly colored scarves, the silly jokes his teacher told, the stray cat that followed him halfway home last week. Slowly, Elara began opening up. "My dad got transferred, that's why we moved here," she told him one afternoon. "It's just me and him now." Ayaan nodded quietly. "That must be hard." She gave a faint smile. "Sometimes." They grew closer over the weeks, and because of their friendship, some of the students began treating Elara with slightly more kindness. Not everyone, change rarely comes all at once, but some began offering hesitant smiles, small conversations, little steps. One rainy afternoon, however, something happened that would challenge Ayaan's heart more than he expected. School had ended early due to a power outage. As students hurried toward the gate, laughter echoed through the wet courtyard. A small group of boys crowded around something. When Ayaan reached them, he saw what it was, Elara's sketchbook lying open on the ground, its pages soaked. The boys had picked it up from her desk earlier, flipping through it and mocking the drawings. Ayaan's chest tightened. "Stop it," he said. The boys looked at him with raised eyebrows. "Relax. It's just a book." "It's hers," Ayaan said, stepping forward. "Give it back." The leader, a tall boy named Raza, smirked. Or what? You'll cry about it? His friends laughed. Ayaan wasn't strong. He wasn't tall. But something steadied inside him, an instinct stronger than fear. He bent down, picked up the sketchbook, wiped it gently with his sleeve, and handed it to Elara, who stood shivering nearby with her backpack pressed to her chest. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded, but tears shimmered in her eyes. Raza rolled his eyes and walked away with his group, muttering insults under his breath. Ayaan felt anger rise inside him, but before he could speak, Elara touched his arm lightly. Thank you, she whispered, her voice trembling. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, Ayaan replied simply. They walked home together in the rain, and though their clothes were soaked, something warm settled between them, an unspoken trust. That evening, when Ayaan returned home dripping wet, his grandmother looked at him with concern but said nothing until he had changed into dry clothes. When he told her what happened, she listened closely, her knitting needles paused mid-air. You chose kindness even when it was difficult, she said, her eyes soft with pride. That is the truest kind. But the next day at school, Ayaan felt the consequences of his stand. Some students avoided him. Some whispered behind his back. Raza and his friends glared whenever he passed. Elara noticed. I'm sorry, she said quietly during break. What for? Ayaan asked. For getting you into trouble. You didn't, he assured her. They chose how to act. I chose differently. Elara looked at him for a long moment, then smiled, a real smile, warm and bright like sunlight breaking through clouds. Days turned into weeks. Winter arrived, and the morning air turned crisp, dusting rooftops with soft frost. The school announced a winter charity fair, where every class had to prepare something to raise funds for needy families in Willowhue. Ayaan's class decided to create an art booth, but no one wanted to participate seriously, until their teacher discovered Elara's damaged sketchbook and asked to see her drawings. Elara hesitated but eventually showed her best pieces, illustrations full of emotion and quiet beauty. To everyone's surprise, the students were impressed. Wow, you drew this? One girl asked. Elara nodded shyly. These are amazing, another said. You should totally design our booth. For the first time since she had arrived, Elara stood in the center of attention, but this time for something good. Their class booth became the most visited at the fair. Handmade cards featuring Elara's artwork sold out within an hour. People admired her drawings, praising her talent. Ayaan watched from the side, smiling proudly. But one moment stood out above all others. A small boy, maybe 7 years old, walked up to the booth with a few coins clutched tightly in his hand. His clothes were worn, his jacket patched in several places. He looked longingly at one of Elara's drawings, a simple sketch of a boy holding a lantern in a dark forest. He placed his coins on the table. Is this enough? He asked quietly. The amount was far less than the price. Ayaan saw Elara look at the coins, then at the boy, her eyes softening. It's more than enough, she said gently. She handed him the drawing wrapped in paper. This belongs with you. The boy's face lit up, and he hugged the drawing before running back to his mother, who thanked Elara from afar. Ayaan leaned toward her. That was really kind. She looked at him with gratitude. I learned it from someone. Later that evening, as the fair lights dimmed and families headed home with warm drinks and smiling faces, Elara approached Ayaan. Can I show you something? They walked to the quiet side of the school, where she pulled out a fresh page from her sketchbook. It was a drawing, but not just any drawing. It was of the stone bench near the fountain where she first met him. 2 figures sat on it, a girl looking down sadly, and a boy sitting beside her, leaving space but offering silent comfort. Ayaan's eyes widened. You drew this? Elara nodded. That day, you were the first person who made me feel like I wasn't invisible." He swallowed, moved more than he could say. "I'm glad I was there." She smiled shyly. "You were there because you choose kindness. Always." As they stood under the winter sky, snowflakes began drifting lazily from the clouds, settling on their hair, their clothes, the quiet ground beneath their feet. Willow Hue looked magical, soft, glowing, peaceful. Ayaan thought about everything that had happened, the rain-soaked sketchbook, the teasing, the silent walks, the little boy at the fair, the drawing she had made for him. None of it felt heroic. None of it felt grand. But it felt right. He remembered his mother's words, "You have a heart that chooses kindness, Ayaan, never lose that." Maybe acts of kindness didn't change the whole world at once. Maybe they didn't silence every cruel whisper or stop every unkind person. But they changed something. Someone. And maybe that was enough. Each time Hercules passed their rebuilt hut, he saw them tending goats, weaving baskets, repairing tools for travelers, or laughing with neighbors who once avoided them. Every sight warmed him more than any victory in battle. For in Thebes, tales would forever be told, not only of Hercules' strength, but of the day he defeated hatred without striking a single blow, showing that even thieves could rise to honor when offered a hand instead of a blade. And that kindness, above all, was the greatest power the world had ever known.